what she wanna do. Lower to the grave, tell you like it is to your face, she don't play. Every chick down for it all, know that she a boss. No competition, no loss. From the Midwest to the A, Autumn got you tuning in, no delay. Ooh, get you right every time. Keep you laughing on a dime. Tell you truth, no lies, so you can live your best life. Cover all topics, no limits. Got something for your mama and your children, no holding back. No gimmicks, coming on strong, get straight to business. Oh yeah. What she wanna do? Live life, live life, live life. What she wanna do? Live life, live life, live life. What she wanna do? Live life, live life, live life. What she wanna do? Live life, live life, live life. Live life, live life.
Hey, it's your girl Autumn, and I welcome you back to the Lit Life Podcast, where I encourage you to live your life autonomously. Y'all, it's Black History Month. I already told y'all how it was gonna be. I told y'all it was gonna be as black as possible.
Right.
So I decided to have a special guest on the show who I came across their podcast through their other, in following their other podcasts, but I thought that this was the appropriate time to highlight this podcast, especially since it's Black History Month. And I absolutely love the concept and everything about the podcast this far. So I want y'all to give it up for Countryboi from the One Mic History Podcast.
Right. Thank you, man. I'm glad to be here. This is dope. I always enjoy doing guest spots and talking to people all within their platform and seeing how everybody else does things, especially when you have, like One Mic's different, but when you do the cut, we always talking about stuff, and then you get with other people, you see their point of view and how they do things is great. I love it.
Yes, I think that the camaraderie within the podcast community is awesome. Like to be able to be on each other's shows and kind of highlight our shows and just go on somebody else's show to just to go with their flow. I think it's just the neatest thing ever. And you're right, you get different ideas and just hear different perspectives, and I think it's always a good time. So, but I really, really, really appreciate you being here. When I came up with the idea, I was like, I think I may have saw a tweet or something, and it just came to me. I'm like, I gotta get him on the show. So first off, you're a guest that has never been on my podcast. So I kind of wanted to just check in with you as far as, we still in the pandemic, all of that stuff. So I want to know how you and your family are holding up.
Wow, man, it's been crazy. So I was working a contract gig. I work in IT.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working a contract gig, working 18 months. Contract ended in like mid-July 2020, which is like middle of the damn pandemic. My son was born in March 19th. So he was roughly about 6 months. I was like, man, I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna chill with my son. And then, a couple months turned into 6 months. And this, you're like, yo, this is getting out of hand.
Right.
This is getting kind of out of hand. But, I start a new gig. I start a gig tomorrow. First day of Black History Month.
Oh, amen.
Yeah. I mean, I left out some stuff. I did work a little bit in there, some contract gigs. In the meantime, I did some stuff, but for the most part, like it's been a long time coming. I'm excited. I'm super excited to be back, not a bum anymore. Cause I was getting up in the morning, taking my son to daycare, my wife going to work, and I sit at home. I'd be like,
so what do I do now?
What do I do with my time? Which to that point, it gave me a lot of time to pour into One Mic and to pump out episodes. So that was great, but it was.
So are you, do you think that it's going to take you some time? Because you said it's been roughly 6 months. Do you think it's going to take you some time to get kind of back into the swing of things as far as like, actually getting up and going to work? Or are you working from home, or are you going to have to go in somewhere?
Well, I work, so my contract was with Microsoft, and they do an 18-6. So you work for 18 months, 6 months, you have to, as a vendor, you have to
Okay.
go. Mm-hmm. So, my 6 months are up. So I just went back.
Gotcha.
Went back to Microsoft. So they are not opening back up until like probably sometime in August. So I'm gonna be working from home at least until then. August is the earliest that they'll let us back in office. And before my contract ended, they sent us home like the week after my son was born. I think that was sometime in mid-March. They sent us home. So they haven't been in the office in coming up on a year.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a long time. It's been nuts being at home. So I'm gonna continue to work from home. Continue doing my thing. I did go into the office briefly when I was doing some contract work. Mm-hmm. I can't recommend it. The company I was, doing it for, they were like, yo, whatever. They didn't care nothing about that. They wasn't wearing masks. I was wearing a mask. They weren't wearing a mask. I was like, yo, this ain't for nobody. This sucks. I'm not.
I know that's right. Because what's the point if you're the only one in there with a mask on?
Exactly. And I have a baby who cannot get vaccinated. I can't realistically bring this home to him because I'm an adult here. He is not. Like, the choices I make directly affect him. If I come home and bring it to him, that's on me. He doesn't have any say so in this. Right. He can't wear a mask. That's not fair to him. So yeah, that wasn't working out.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so crazy how people just do not care. Like, people just don't care, and I don't get it. But anyways, I'm glad. I'm so glad that you starting back up on first day of Black History Month. That's lit. Yeah. I'm glad you're back at it. No longer being a bum.
Yeah,
it's all good. All right. What'd you say?
I'm off my mama couch.
Right. All right. So we could just go ahead and get into it. Shut the fuck up. God damn, nigga. So that's like the funniest clip ever. I don't know. Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen the actual video?
No, I like it though. It rides.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to send it to you because it's hilarious. So this is the point of the show. This is like everybody's favorite part of my show. It's called the Shut the Fuck Up Award. And what we do at the Shut the Fuck Up Award, just in case it's someone out there that, this is your first time tuning in. I don't even know how I came up with this, but it's all about telling a person, a concept, a movement, whatever, to just shut up. Like, you're sick of their shit. And you just want to tell them to shut the fuck up. So, who do you have here on Black History, for Black History Month?
My Shut the Fuck Up Award is to Master P. Master P.
Really?
Master P.
Wait! I wasn't ready.
You are. I know. But it's not wholly about Master P. Master P does a lot of good things. Okay. Mostly Master P mentioned that if Clubhouse was done by an African American, we would support it. And I don't feel like that is completely accurate. I feel as though Black people support things and we make everything that we're involved in better than what it was. The problem is that we found value in Clubhouse and we were able to take and make it better than what it was. Before that, it was in there talking about tech support and shit. It wasn't dope. We came in and we made it dope. And what happens is we come in and we make things better than what they were, and then we're not included in that when they try to go to that next level.
Absolutely.
But I think the bigger issue and the issue that's missed with Master P is that Black entrepreneurs do not have the capital or the people to lean on to do things like Clubhouse, to do things like to GoPros or the things like that. We have the ideas, but who is going to give us the capital? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was watching, oh man, Kev on Stage was talking about this and I had no idea. He mentions that the people behind GoPro,
the camera.
Yeah, the camera.
Okay.
His family, when he left college, he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. His family floated him for 2 years while he went around the world surfing. And then he was like, you know what would be cool? If I had a camera on my wrist, if I have a camera on my head. And then he came up with this idea and was able to get funding for it. Now, could you imagine if this had been a brother? This is not going to happen. There's no one to ask. There's no generational wealth where I could, hey, dad, can I borrow, $10,000 because I have this great idea? That's not going to happen. So my big thing is that I feel like his anger was misplaced. It wasn't at black. It was at systemic racism that has caused us not to have generational wealth where we can invest in each other the way we need to with the wonderful ideas that we have. So
you're right.
Fuck up, but hey, let's point you in a different direction. Let's point you here.
Yeah, actually, that was shut the fuck up worthy. Like I think it, and a lot of times these awards is just people that are just that just say stuff without really like thinking it through. Like they mean well, I think, and then it just doesn't hit the way that they thought it was going to hit. That's
Right.
actually good. There's so many industries and so many different ventures that Black folks try to get into, and we already know that it's almost impossible because we don't have the capital, and nobody is really trying to loan us that money, especially if we've had to go through, our early 20s or whatever, living and learning. So we didn't mess some stuff up because we just didn't have the knowledge. We just didn't know. And now we have these great ideas and we're on track in life. So we think, and they still are not going to want to invest in our ideas. The same thing also goes for, the cannabis industry. Yeah. I met a lady. Her name is slipping my mind right now, but I'm gonna have to find it and put it in the show notes. I can't think of it. But I met her at the Cash Color Cannabis recording, and she's the first Black female to have a dispensary in Maryland. So she has a dispensary, but she was very clear. She said, we can all have the tools to do this, but I was fortunate enough to have her, I think it's her mom and her mom's partner are both, her mom is a dentist, and she works in a practice with another dentist, and they are the ones that basically helped her to get this capital. And she was very, very frank about it, like, hey, my mom had to put initially $200,000 into this, and we just don't, you know what I mean, like.
And to that point, one of the things about if I invest in you is you better hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm invest $200,000 in you at your Clubhouse, we're gonna crowdsource this or GoFundMe or whatever. We feel like it better hit. Like this is your shot. You only get one. You only gonna get one. Like, this is not some scenario where you get to try and fail and do and get other chance and get reinvested. And that's another thing, speaks to the point where there are the people who set up Clubhouse. Their investors were willing to invest in anything they did. They didn't care what it was. They didn't. They were willing to invest in millions of dollars in them and watch them fail in hopes that one of those would take off and they would see a return on their investment. And that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That's not available. And so for us, your idea had to be $1 million idea, and it got to hit. And it got to hit. And that really, it sucks.
It does. It does. It does. It does. Yeah. And you're right. It does. And what's really crazy is when you venture out, like, to be an entrepreneur, how many times does it work on the first try?
Right.
They typically say it's like 7 times. Like businesses will fail like 7 times before they actually like make some sort of a profit and figure, right their wrongs and figure things out. And that's if they stay the course. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a good one. So it's crazy because my Shut the Fuck Up award also just so happens to be going to a Black person here on or to some Black people here in Black History Month. So we just gonna start by cleaning us up before we go in on everybody else at this particular moment. I don't know if you've been seeing. So they got all these challenges. So there's a silhouette challenge. There's whatever, the body challenge, whatever. I don't know, all these challenges. And so I don't know if you've seen Chloe Bailey. Okay, you've seen. Okay,
yeah, I seen her.
So same. So did I. So it's like, this young lady who has, who's in a singing group, singing duo with her sister. And, they're supposed to just be like these pure young ladies. And like, I guess they're never like supposed to grow up, or I don't know. I don't know what's supposed to happen, but a tweet came out yesterday by this lady, some chick. I'm not even going to say her name because I don't really care. But she said, Chloe Bailey is a cornball. The whole good girl gone bad remodel that Janet Jackson started is tired. There's nothing wrong with being a modest woman. If you can't garner attention without being a slut, then you serve no real purpose in this world.
Wow. Ow.
Good. Right?
Hey.
Some of the follow-up tweets, the one up under her said, if you caught your man watching one of her videos, just say that, sis. And her tweet blew up. I mean, it's like, okay. Sometimes it's tough when people grow up. You know what I mean? Like, I get, like, I really, really get it. Even back when we were into, these girl groups and guy bands, 80s, 90s music. Right. And even still, like, we can reminisce on some of that music, like Tevin Campbell's music. We can reminisce on his music and be like, what the hell was he even talking about at that age? Like, what did he? Yeah. But, it was Albie Short writing, but whatever. Yeah. But they grow up and they grow out of it. And Chloe is her and her sister, they are beautiful young women. And if a 30-year-old can walk around and do these challenges and be butt ass naked, like, I mean, okay, she's 22, so what? I mean, she's rich. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, she's gonna do whatever the hell she wants to do, and that's what she should do. And why does she have to be a modest woman? Like, what do you mean? Just be?
What does that even mean? What does that mean?
That even make it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. It's not like. And she said, there is nothing wrong with being a modest woman. If you can't garner the attention without being a slut, then you serve no real purpose in this world. What do you mean? Do you know who you're talking to?
Right.
Do you know who you're talking to? What do you mean? They never needed to do it. She never needed to do any of this, and she still would be the big star that she is. It's not adding up. And I need for us and Black women, this is for you. I need us to do better. It's cool if you didn't like what was going on with the challenge, if you didn't like her particular video, there really was no reason for you to just kind of lash out like this. It's like, did she call you a bitch? Like, what happened? Like, did we miss what happened here? Like, what? It makes me sad because I just feel like we're so busy. There's so many other things to be outraged about.
It feels to me that a lot of Black people really, really enjoy or can't wait to rip other Black people. Like we just like get off on the opportunity. Like, hey, oh wow, you did something I didn't like. Let me just say you're useless. You have no use for you in society. When one of the things, and this irks me a lot, is when ideals don't line 100% up with yours. You feel like they're completely disposable and they're completely have no use for you in life, and that sucks. That once again, that's another thing that sucks. It's not fair. It feels disingenuous, and especially with someone like like Chloe, who is doing her. She's just doing her. She wants to do these challenges.
She's just being a young lady like any of these other young ladies out
exactly.
here.
Have fun. Enjoy your life. Like I for one am not in a position to tell you what you should or should not be doing with your body. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna do what I want to do. You see what I'm saying? Like, and she gonna do, and this lady, I don't know her, but she gonna do what she want to do. And I'm sure she got skeletons in her closet. If somebody was to go back when she was 22, they would be like, girl.
Absolutely. I mean, and I just feel like it's just unnecessary. It's just really unnecessary. And I think that, if you're going to be angry about something, and you're a Black woman, it shouldn't be about what other Black women are doing with their body, or what videos they're doing, or I just don't feel like it was worth the energy. Again, there's just too many other things out here that we can put that type of energy into. This ain't it. She's an entertainer.
This is what she does. This is what she does. She is in every aspect. She's always attempting to entertain us, and this is just another form of that. And the whole idea that you need to be modest. It's not, the whole thing was not even a jab just at Chloe. This was a jab at every woman doing this challenge. It was.
She literally named Janet Jackson. Like, can you keep Janet Jackson name out your mouth? What was the? I'm trying to figure out for what. So you're upset that there's that there's a good girl gone bad thing. Why does that upset you? What makes that? Why do you feel like you need to like fight behind this? It's just silly. It's just silly.
It feeds very much into that what is the matriarchal society that we have, you know what I'm saying, where guys attempt to try to demonize women and how they dress and how they live their lives and tell them that you need to be modest. That for one, being a woman, should understand how freeing it is for a woman to do whatever the hell she wants to with her body. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not fair. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to the lady. Why limit yourself? Maybe one day you want to do the challenge.
Right. And honestly, like, there was nothing slutty about it. I mean, it was just, I mean, you've seen some of these challenges now. And they've really taken it there. Hers was not that. It was just regular old boom, got my robe on, boom, take it off, silhouette, boom. I'm 22, I got all this ass and I'm gonna show it. That's really all it was.
Right. I mean, as a guy, I'm not gonna be mad.
Okay, I wasn't mad at all either. Okay.
I'm not gonna be mad.
Like, girl, do you like so anyways. That's my shut the fuck up award. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the good of the show. And first, I just want you to explain to us what One Mic History Podcast is.
Oh wow. So it's a Black History podcast. I came up with this idea. Matter of fact, I had been bouncing it in my head for a while when I've been doing the cut for, this should be 2 years. Okay. But people asked me once, they were like, what value does your podcast bring? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the value in this? When someone comes to you, what would they say? I listen to this podcast because this does what for my life? And when they asked me that, I didn't have an answer. I didn't have a good answer. Now, I love the cut. I love what I'm doing. I'm having a great time. Did you know what I'm saying? But this prompted me to think, well, what can I do to bring value to people? What do I enjoy doing? I enjoyed history. I was like, well, I can create a history podcast about, Black history, because I feel like it's underrepresented in the podcasting space, in the world. It's just in general. And there's even amongst history podcasters or Black history podcasters, it's not a lot of African Americans doing that. So, I'm out here feeling like this is FUBU. It's for us, by us. It's created by African American for African Americans. And if you see me, you see what I'm doing, you see the cut. I'm just regular dude. There's no PhD behind this. I'm just a dude with a podcast.
and it's an amazing one. And I've listened to a few episodes. I think I listened to like the first couple of episodes when you first came out. Yeah. And then a couple of ones just recently. And they really are informative. Now, when I went to the website, because I always kind of like to do my research, even though like sometimes I really just don't be doing it all the time because lazy. Yeah. I went and I just wanted to look at and do a little bit of research, and I saw that you I think it was the About page. And of course I can't find it now. Oh wait, here it is. That also you wanted something to pass down, right? Like you wanted to pass down to your son. So tell me a little bit about like that thought, like how that thought came about.
Well, I'm an older first time father. Like I just turned 40 and my son is like 10 months. Mm-hmm. He was born in March, and I felt like I wanted something that he could look back on and say, this is my daddy did this. My daddy made this. My daddy created this, or he could have a legacy. And the great thing about history is that history is evergreen. So no matter when he listens to this, the history is still the same. The history doesn't change. The history of, the Red Summer is still going to be the history of the Red Summer, whether he listens to it tomorrow or 20 years from now. So I felt like no matter what, this could be my legacy, that he could say, hey, my daddy built something. He created something. And whether or not it ever takes off, he'd always be, something he could be proud of me for.
Absolutely. That is just awesome. So when did you realize that you were really into like history like that? Like let's narrow it down, like into Black history, because to be fair and to give you credit, a lot of credit, listening to your podcast has probably the few episodes that I've listened to has probably taught me more than what I've ever learned in any school, right? So you have to you really have to love this to be able to like really tell these stories, and you have to go above and beyond when it comes to research and things like that. So, where did that all start? Like when did you feel that you just needed to know more? Because right now we're in that whole culture of like unlearning things that we've learned and trying to relearn, the things the right way. And that goes for history as well. So tell me your thoughts on that. Like, when did it really occur to you that, what, I think I need to know a little bit more about these situations?
When I was in school, I was always a fan of history. History was one of the few subjects that I liked and I excelled in. Because I was never really a great student. I was always one of the kids who were like, he has potential, but he doesn't really. He's not well motivated. Yeah. So as I became an adult, I realized that the things that I care about, when I'm focused, I can achieve great things. But the things that I don't care about, they get pushed to the wayside. But as you become an adult, you get more leeway to push things aside that don't matter to you. That, you know what I'm saying? So I'm poor at math. I don't have to use math. I have a calculator near me every moment of every day. I don't have to know math. I can figure it out. But I can drill down and learn more about history because this is what I'm passionate about. Mm-hmm. So My dad is also a history buff, and he would come over sometimes and we would watch, the NFL, watch the games, and he would, talk about history, spend some time talking about history. And it kind of prompted me. I was like, yo, what we're doing right now, why don't I do this in a podcasting format? Why can't I achieve this? We know all this stuff. Why are we not expounding on this? Go give me a book and read the book, and then create a script, and then bring that to the masses, bring it to the people, tell everybody. If I find this interesting, I feel like everyone will find this interesting. That may not be true, but
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. See, I'm the opposite. Like, history was just like, I was in there like, all right, I'm fall on to sleep during that time, because they weren't giving me any parts of history that were really like, oh my goodness, this really happened. So, but in listening to the podcast, see, I'm that person that when you explain something to me the right way, you know what I mean? Like I can easily comprehend it. Whereas if I'm just like reading something and it's just not sparking my interest, like, you know what I mean? It's about dialogue. So I listen to the dialogue, and if it's intriguing to me, I'm like, oh, okay, and then I learn something, right? So I think that the format of the podcast is just like amazing. And I'm the opposite person. Like, I'm a numbers person. You're gonna give me some numbers, you're gonna get some good numbers back. Right. I'm an analytical thinker, so I'm gonna think through these numbers, and I'm gonna make sure that the set of numbers that come out on the other side are gonna be the set of numbers that it's supposed to be.
Right.
But history, it just wasn't really a thing. So it's great. And again, that's another reason why I really wanted to showcase this podcast, because it's a great way for people to get their knowledge in when maybe they don't have the attention span to read, or maybe they it just wasn't, it wasn't cool, anything that they were interested in before, but to encourage them to give this a spin.
And one of the things that this is something that kind of just started happening, is I wanted to give people an outlet so they could take that knowledge of what you've learned, and hey, I want to learn more. So like, when I first started, it never occurred to me that people would want to watch my podcast and then listen and find more. But now the books that I read, I share them. I created affiliate links. You can click on the link. You can buy the book if you want the book that I read to get this information, or the places that I went to find this information, so that you can take this knowledge and you can learn even more. Because of course, I'm not going to give you everything that happened within the book.
Right.
So you can learn the book, and maybe you want to learn even more about, Booker T. Washington, or W.E.B. Du Bois, or the Negro Leagues, or whatever, and that's something that's just started, occurring to me, that, hey, maybe there's more for people to learn, more what they want to do, or maybe this will spark their interest in history as a whole.
Absolutely. It's definitely it's definitely intriguing. So yeah. I commend you for that. So in one mic history fashion, because basically what you do is you bring a story, you bring a story of Black history to your podcast, and you basically just tell the story. I mean, it's literally like you're listening to a walk back in time. And you do, it seems like you do really good research, and you just tell, some episodes are 40 minutes long, some episodes are 20 minutes long. So whatever you have, but it's great information. So in one mic history, in the light of one mic history, I would like for you to tell a story.
Oh, wow.
And I picked the person.
Right.
I picked Shirley Chisholm.
Right.
And I wanted you to just give my listeners some history on Miss Shirley Chisholm.
Wow. So, like I said before, like going in, I didn't know a whole lot about Shirley Chisholm outside of, just the basics. So during my research, I became a fan of hers. She is an amazing woman, and she was She was born in British Guiana, which is now Guyana. It was formerly a British colony. And then her family moved to Barbados. And then from Barbados, they went and lived and moved to Brooklyn. They moved to Brooklyn. Apparently, and it's weird because on her Wikipedia page, it says that she was born in Brooklyn, but that's not, her documentary said something different. Her documentary, which was her, says that she lived in, she moved to Brooklyn, and then they eventually moved back to Barbados. Early in her adulthood, she's a teacher. She was an early childhood education. I think she was a kindergarten. Okay. She worked in as a kindergarten teacher, which helped shape a lot of the policies she had later on in her life, because she was doing she was big on Head Start, which is pre-K. You know, so during the 50s, she became involved in politics within the Democratic Party, and I think this is because her father was a big fan of FDR. FDR, Frederick Delano Roosevelt, helped usher in the transition from African Americans from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, because during the Depression, after World War II, he did the public works projects and a lot of things that got people back to work. And he ran on the platform of basically putting people back to work. And if you vote for me, I'm gonna help you I'm gonna help you start working again. Right. So her father was a big fan of FDR. I think it's pushed her towards working with the Democratic Party, and that eventually led her to running for the 12th district of New York, which covered New York and Brooklyn and some of the poor districts like Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Right.
Anyway, so the way she tells it is when she was working for the agriculture department, when she was working for as a house rep, they wanted her to work for the board of agriculture, and she was like, "I ain't doing that because my constituents don't farm." My constituents don't farm. I need you to put me on a committee that would align with the best interests of my constituents. And the men within the House of Representatives, when they already had an idea in their head of who Shirley Chisholm was before she even showed up. As soon as she got there, they already assumed that she was this sassy Black woman, almost a stereotype of what a Black person was. So they were already afraid of her because they were expecting
the angry Black woman.
And she tells the story of she's walking in the halls, and one of the other House reps, every time they saw her, they were like, 42-5. Like, "Hey, Miss Chisholm, how you doing?" And she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, 42-5. She's like, "Excuse me?" He was like, 42-5. I can't believe you make the same 42-5 that I make. And she was like, "The next time you see me, how about you leave so you ain't got to worry about this 42-5 that I'm making."
That's right. What is wrong with folks?
Man, it's crazy. It is insane to me how this works out. So she was a junior member of the House of Representatives. They didn't feel like she had a lot of juice because she was new, and and at the time there were only a handful of Black members of the House of Representatives. I think they was less than 10, and she was the first Black female in the House of Representatives. That was a first already, just doing that. So when she decides to run for president in 1972, they were like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" Like, serious. No one took her seriously. And they looked at her, and even the Congressional Black Caucus was like, nah, they didn't even back her, not even initially. You know what I'm saying? These were her fellow Black House representatives, and they didn't even back what she was attempting to do with her with running for president in 1972. The thing that was happening at the time in 1972 is, you got to understand, the Civil Rights Act was signed in 1964. The Voting Rights Act was signed in 1965. This was not that long after that. We had just gotten civil rights and the ability to vote with no BS 7-8 years ago before this. And she's running for president. And she was a woman. This was at the time when a woman having ambition was like the worst thing you could do. You couldn't even, a married woman couldn't even have her own credit card because it was assumed that the man was going to be paying for the bill. So it would always say Miss So-and-so.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She couldn't have her own card. A single woman insurance was higher than a married woman insurance because it was assumed that she would be letting her boyfriend drive the car. So they adjusted her insurance accordingly.
Wow.
Because of that. So you kind of understand the leap that it took for her to be able to run for a president in a time when a woman having ambition was like the worst thing that you could do.
Right.
Then in 1968, Robert Kennedy was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. So 1968, Richard Nixon obliterated. He was running as a Republican, obliterated the Democratic field. He won 330 electoral votes in that election.
Wow.
Because of the two assassinations that happened, the Vietnam War, civil rights, all those things. It was just a lot. It was a lot of turmoil. So coming into 72, the biggest thing that the Democrats wanted to do is be unified against Nixon. So they saw Shirley Chisholm as someone who is basically dividing their vote against their common enemy, who was Nixon, who was their Trump at the time.
Right.
Put it in modern
Right.
day terms, he was their Trump.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, oh man, I cannot remember for the life of me the guy who ended up winning the presidential election the nomination at the time. Hang on, give me 1 second.
Yep.
1972 election. I researched this last night and then his name escapes my mind completely.
Man, you're doing good though, because
it was George McGovern. McGovern. Okay, so she's running. She is in the field of 13 other Democrats. It was a ton of them. And she was thought so little of that they would have debates, and they wouldn't even invite her, but they would invite people that she was beating, because she was not seen even though she was polling better than a lot. I think it's 3-4% and was beating quite a bit of the rest of the field. They saw her as a non-factor because she was, in their mind, a double negative. She was black and she was a woman.
Right. She just wasn't worth it.
She wasn't worth it in their minds. So fast forward to when we're going up to Democratic nomination, she was she knew that she couldn't win. What she wanted to do, though, was garner the support of all the blacks in the caucus, all the black delegates, and say, hey, if you put your support behind me, we can come together and have a unified front for our ideals. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So they could say, hey, I'm backing Shirley Chisholm, but we can have her back out of the race. What are you bringing us? What are you giving us? What do you have for us? And instead of what happened is that they all had their own agendas, all had already signed of what they were going to do, and decided to back McGovern. And at that point, it's like, what are you going to do? You know, the Democratic nomination went to McGovern, and who ultimately got obliterated again. They got obliterated again. He lost. I think Nixon won 55% of the vote. And what's this say? How many electoral votes? Oh my God, 520. What the hell am I looking? That cannot be right.
No. How many is it? Like initially, it's like
Oh my God, that can't be right.
maybe it was it different then?
Yeah, it was. It was. I guess it was different because the electoral vote here. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page off because I didn't look at the election. I mean, I looked at the election, but I looked at how many electoral votes they had.
Yeah.
And it says he had 520, and McGovern only had 17. And looking at this map, he only won like a few states. Wow, that is brutal.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is the black people in this story didn't get anything that they wanted. You know, they wanted this child unified front, but at the end, they sold out all of their morals, and they were like, "Well, Shirley Chisholm can't win. None of you guys are going to win. None of you guys are going to be president." In the end of the day, so honestly, I felt like they sold her short a bit on her presidential run, and you know, we coming into this, I thought that she was a joke candidate. I didn't know. I had no idea. I thought like, hey, I'm running for president. Because I didn't know the history. I assumed that Jesse Jackson
I'm just a black woman running for president.
Yeah, I'm just a black woman running for president. Kind of like Jesse Jackson. Like, you can't win, right?
Yeah.
But she was actually more than that. And she never, when they talked to her, even in 72, she was like, I'm here to win. I'm here to win. I'm gonna play it like I'm gonna win. So you had to take her seriously because she ran on a platform that of early childhood. I'm here for equal rights for everybody, and even later in it, she herself mentioned that I realized that I can't win at this point, but I'm paving the way for future women, future minorities that show that it's possible that you can run for president and you can do this. So the Kamala Harris's, the Barack Obama's, and even the Hillary Clintons owe a debt of gratitude to Shirley Chisholm for paving the way that this was even possible.
Absolutely.
Because this was shocking to me. And even when I researched her, like I said before, I came away extremely impressed of a woman who is able to face down adversity and the a matriarchal society and all of these things that were compounded against her, and she's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. She didn't even have Secret Service protection. She didn't get Secret Service protection until months into her campaign. Do you know who her security was? Her husband. And wow. she ducked several assassination attempts. One guy tried to stab her with a 10-inch knife. And this same year, during 1972, George Wallace. I don't know if you familiar with George Wallace? Don't worry about it. I'm gonna explain. George Wallace was the governor of Alabama. He's famous for his speech, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. He ran as a Democrat in 1972. And on the campaign trail was someone shot him. And people were like, if somebody shot George Wallace,
right,
Shirley Chisholm should be worried.
Right. Does she even have a chance at life at this point?
Yeah, exactly. So that's at that point I prompted them to give her Secret Service protection. Wow. So yeah, she's a great story. She was a great story. Like, it's sad that was kind of the apex of her career was running for president. And granted, she still stayed within politics and in the House of Representatives for a while after that, but she never reached that apex that she did when she ran for president in 1972.
Got you. An amazing. I knew it was going to be an amazing story. Yeah, I know y'all are listening and y'all enjoyed this and you learned something, because I sure did. Amazing. That was wonderful. So, oh man, that was great. Look, I'm all happy.
It's funny you said this because I assumed I read the notes, but I assumed this was going to be a bit of a discussion back and forth. So I didn't know I wouldn't have to like
I
know.
wanted story
Yeah,
time.
but because of the kind of person that I was like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put down some notes. I'm gonna chronicle her life, and I'm gonna be ready. So when you asked me to do a story, I knew her story.
You did
Yeah,
it. Yes.
yeah.
Applause. So all right. So I mean, and that's it. That's gonna wrap us up.
Okay.
I want you to go ahead and tell everybody where to find your podcast, where to find both of your podcasts at this point, and just let us know how to get in contact with you.
All right. Well, you can find One Mic History at onemichistory.com. You can also find I also run the Cut podcast. You can find me at @1mic_history on IG. You can find me at the Cut podcast on Twitter. You can find me at One Mic History on Twitter, and you can also find me on Facebook at the Cut podcast. Also, I have a store. I got merch. I got the shirt on today. So
you guys have a YouTube channel too, right?
yes, I have. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I almost missed that.
Okay.
One Mic History. One Mic History. One Mic History on YouTube. Also, I have a history. I'll put all my episodes for One Mic History on my YouTube channel. So any way you want to watch it, you like watching pictures, and it's not really video. It's mostly still pictures, but it's dope. I like it.
Yes, absolutely. All right. And I just want to make sure that you guys remember, because I can't get off the air without telling y'all about podcast happy hour. So join me and my pod sisters, Chris from Shenanigans with Friends, Audrey from Odd Tales Pod, Tamara from Tamara to the Break of Dawn podcast, and J Book for show from Jay's Quick 3. We do this monthly. It's just literally our monthly get together. Well, we do other get togethers, but our monthly get together where we have a couple of drinks and we talk about what's been going on, and we all bring a piece from our show. This month in blackety black as fuck Black History Month, you see the hat back here. I am hosting Black History Month. Therefore, it's definitely gonna be some black shit. So February 20th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, because we have people in all three of those time zones. So just imagine us always trying to
get together,
get our life together.
Right. Wow.
But that'll do it. I hope to see you guys. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. Be sure to like, subscribe. I will have all of Countryboi's information in the show notes, so be sure to give him and both of his podcasts a follow. And guess what? Until you guys hear me again, peace.